So the Super Rugby finals are all set now. It's going to be the Brumbies taking on the Jaguares over in Buenos Aires, and the Crusaders will face the Hurricanes. So with the Bulls losing and the Sharks in this most recent game, that is the South African teams out. Still, the winner of the South African conference is in the Jaguares, but the actual South African teams have both fallen. It was always going to be tough for both of them away. They both probably put in pretty good shifts, but not quite enough to get it done. The Aussie teams, they only got the one through to the finals, but the Brumbies have looked good value for their spot at the top of the Aussie conference and looked pretty good value for this win, although some of the stats make for interesting reading. Game starts before I can even get back from the Hurricanes and Bulls game. So I walked back from the stadium, and Google Maps tells me it's like a 35-minute walk. I did it in like 25, and I was still 2 minutes late for the start of the game. So I missed the first try. I walked in, it was 2 minutes, and the Brumbies are up 7-0. I believe it was Samu that scored that one. And then Bosch for the Sharks not long later kicks a penalty to make it 7 points to 3. So the Sharks looking to make the use of that big boot of his. I mean, that was a 50-meter kick, and he could have kicked it probably another 10 meters easy. Spate goes in for a try after a Banks line break, gets it in the corner, 14-3. After about 10 minutes, Bosch hits back with a penalty. Interestingly, it was from a Rory Arnold high tackle. And like that guy's height is so useful at like diffusing opposition mauls, but it's so hard for him sometimes to make tackles because guys are just so much shorter than him, and that proved the case a couple of times in this game. Interestingly for the Sharks, Dan Dupria and Tyler Paul both went off before, I think, 20 minutes. So over the course of the 80, I think that probably didn't help the Sharks' cause at all, with some lacking that chance to bring on some fresh legs anyway. Liliafana kicks a penalty on 20 minutes, makes it 17-6. Spate had gone close in the build-up there. 24 minutes, Samu gets a maul try to make it 24-6, and at that point, the commentators are pretty much saying this game is done. And it did kind of look like it was done. It was similar to that Hurricanes and Bulls game where home team was out in front looking pretty comfy. But then, 35 minutes, the Sharks, they're deciding we're not taking any more threes. They did go for a maul, but they weren't able to get past the Brumbies' defense. Their maul defense was very good. And Samu, he kind of did a little chip and chase at one point before half time, and he seems to have pulled his hamstring, so we'll see how he goes. But yeah, that's how it was at half time. It was still 24-6, as I said. A mindset shift for the Sharks, but not able to get any points. Looking, well behind anyway at halftime. Run meters 259 to 188 in favour of the Brumbies in the first half. Slightly more possession, but a fair bit more territory for the Sharks actually in that first half. Tackling percentages, 86 for the Sharks, only 86 for the Brumbies, only 76.5 for the Sharks. So yeah, defense a wee bit on the poor side there. Second half, Arnold gets another high tackle, becoming a theme. It does happen to him, as I said, just because he is such a big guy. And then from that penalty, Esterhazy gets a try after a maul. So he powers over. 24 points to 13 is the scoreline. And if you count that penalty that they kicked earlier after Arnold's high tackle, that's kind of 10 points that he's given away just with his high tackles. So, as I said, he certainly adds a lot with that height, but it does come with a price. Sharks had a lot of ball. Brumbies a lot of big hits on defence. And the Sharks not quite clinical enough at times with the ball. They didn't look, for all the ball they had, they didn't really look like cutting the Brumbies open. At one point they set up a maul and they knocked it on. Then they conceded a penalty from the resulting scrum from that knock on because the Brumbies scrum did seem to have the upper hand. And then 71 minutes, Powell finally runs the ball. I've been a little bit critical about him for not running the ball that much. And as you guys have pointed out, he is pretty scrawny. in terms of, like, you compare him to some other number nines, and he doesn't have all that much bulk about him, but he finally ran it. He didn't get crunched. And he got a try, showed a bit of gas, 31-13, and then there was one last try from Matt Lucas right before full time. Good Tom Banks line break made it really look comfortable on the scoreboard, 38-13. The game was a bit closer than that, despite the scoreline, but the Brumbies were still pretty good value for their win. Interestingly, despite the fact that the Sharks had 61% possession, 69% territory, they only had 317 run meters to the Brumbies 464. So they had the ball, but they weren't able to get the ground with it. And yeah, their tackling percentage finished at 74. They only had to make 52 tackles, whereas the Brumbies made 130 and tackled 87%. So the Brumbies' defence was really, really on form. 7 penalties apiece, so there's nothing much in that. But yeah, as I said, Brumbies look pretty good value. Sharks just not quite there. So as I said, those injuries didn't help. Yeah, Joe Powell pushed Robert Dupree into touch at one point. He's not the biggest guy, but he's got a big ticker. Anyway, so yeah, they faced the Jaguars. It's going to be an interesting game. The Jaguars did look a bit vulnerable at scrum time, and the Brumbies had the ascendancy at scrum time, so we'll see if they can make use of that weapon next week. But yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm pretty knackered, if you can tell in the video. Traveling around Wellington with the family during the day, walk to the rugby stadium at night, walk quickly back, watch this last game. I'm going to go to bed. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game, key moments and all that stuff, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.